So my Starfield Ultimate Wishlist videos have both done quite well, and I thank you guys for that. However, before the showcase on June 12th, I really want to make a complete final Ultimate Wishlist, and simply just lay out every single thing that I'd love to see in Starfield, even if the possibility is low. Also, I am going to be playing Fallout 4 in the background here, simply because this is going to be a somewhat long video, and I imagine you guys will get sick of watching the Starfield trailer looped 20,000 times. Also, I won't be able to talk about literally everything I want to see, otherwise we'll be here for hours. This is pretty much just a list of most of the things I'd love to see. So with that said, let's get into the video. So one very minor thing I'd love to see in Starfield is in-game radio chatter across spaceships. I spoke about this in an entire separate video, so I'll just briefly sum it up here. In short, I've said for a while now how cool it would be to have in-game radios like the ones we have in Fallout games, but also to be able to tune into spaceship radios. What I mean is, like truckers in the real world, we can tune in, listen to their conversations and what have you. It would be really awesome to be able to do this in Starfield. Tune in and listen to age-old space explorers talking. It would also be a great way to get new quests too. Imagine you tune into a station, two spaceship pilots are chatting away and one of them says something along the lines of, "Hey, did you hear about that treasure buried in an underwater cave north of Neon?" You get a miscellaneous quest telling you to check it out, you go there and maybe you find a bunch of ammo or in-game currency. This is just an example, obviously. I'm sure Bethesda would do a better job than that. The only problem with this is Bethesda would have to record so much dialogue for these conversations to work, otherwise it would get old and boring really quick. Now this one is kind of a big deal, to me anyway. I really want my choices to matter in Starfield. What I mean is, in Skyrim, whether you side with the Empire or the Stormcloaks, the outcome is basically the same. I mean, lore-wise it isn't, but in-game it is. The only thing that really changes is what Jarl sits in what city. In Fallout 4, every outcome to the ending of the main story is either you blowing up the Institute in some way or another, unless you decide to side with the Institute. In Starfield, I really want to feel the impacts of my choices. Please, Bethesda, don't let every ending be the same again. Let me feel like I made a mistake. Let me feel regret of my choices. That's what makes RPGs so great. The choices, the consequence, moulding the world based on your actions. Now, Bethesda have stated that they're going back to their roots, basically meaning Starfield will feel more like an RPG than any of their previous games of recent years, aka Skyrim, Fallout 4, and I guess Fallout 76 if you want to count that as an RPG. So I guess in a way this does sort of confirm what I'm asking, but anyway, let's move on. Another thing that's really important to me is I really want customizable spaceships. The way I imagine Starfield is that the game will start with us joining Constellation. I think we'll fill out a quote work information form kind of thing, which will essentially be our stats, right? And then we'll customize our character and what have you. I think at this point they give us our own ship, which is kind of like a step out moment that Bethesda have talked about before. Now my hope is that no matter how you get your own ship, we get to customize it. Pick paint jobs, new thrusters, upgrade to better weapon systems even. I mean, think about it, you fly to a spaceship mechanic and upgrade your ship's exterior, add things like better armor over your ship, better thrusters to make you fly faster. Imagine it kind of like GTA 5's car customization, on that level. But with the inside/interior, I'd like to see two different things. A settlement type of building mode where we can design our living rooms, our bedrooms, kitchens, bedrooms, engine rooms, cockpits, but maybe you can do something else along with this. Set interiors. Imagine you can pick through 10 to maybe 20 of already built interiors for those who don't want to do it themselves. This way, people who want and people who don't want to use a settlement/camp style of building mode won't have to use it, and everybody is happy. And honestly, I think that the same kind of thing goes with any type of building mode in Starfield. Now, I've discussed a lot on the channel before the many leaks and rumours of a colony building system in Starfield. Whether you believe that is up to you, but let's just say we believe it here for a second. If there is a settlement building system, make it optional. Now, I would argue that the settlement system in Fallout 4 was pretty optional. Off the top of my head, the only time I can think that you actually need to build is when you build the teleporter to get into the Institute. But regardless, a lot of people felt it was very forced in Fallout 4. So if we are building colonies, just make it completely optional. Maybe it's just a small faction that pretty much does nothing but build colonies or settlements or whatever you want to call them. If you refuse to join them, you don't build. Simple as that, right? And if you ever regret it, you just go back to this small faction and say you changed your mind and then you can build again. This way everyone will be happy and you won't get everyone bitching and complaining that it was very forced like they did with Fallout 4. And another thing I want to see is regular outfits. Okay, admittedly this is very minor, but what I mean is every outfit or armor, including those that have been leaked from Starfield, have all looked like some kind of spacesuit. And while I love that, and they all look pretty awesome to say the least, I really hope that we get regular outfits too, perhaps in the style of Han Solo or even Star-Lord. One thing I did love about the Outer Worlds, a game which, if I'm honest, I was quite disappointed by, was the idea of building our own crew. Now, this isn't something I necessarily want or necessarily need from Starfield, but creating my own crew, choosing companions to join me on my ship, building them their own rooms that fit their aesthetic or vibe, giving them jobs on the ship, such as navigation, weapons/defense, radio communication, the ship's doctor, the ship's mechanic, etc., the list goes on. Sounds pretty fucking awesome. At least the way I picture it. Now, honestly, for some reason, and I have no knowledge of this, but for some reason I'm really doubting that Bethesda is going to do this, but hey, either way, I'd love to see it. Now, in Fallout 4, every faction was involved in the main story, and while I didn't mind that for Fallout 4, I really don't want to see it in Starfield. I want to join some factions with their own agenda, you know? Otherwise, after a while, it becomes boring in my opinion. Like in Fallout 4, I have love for every single faction, but once you finish the main quest, there really isn't much to do for any faction besides some pretty crappy Radiant quests. However, in Skyrim, the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, the Companions, etc., all had their own quests, which were really good, their own stories, if you will. I'd personally much prefer Bethesda to go this route with Starfield, but the issue with that is once we get an idea with the main story, I could completely change my mind, so I guess it all really depends. I also really want to see melee combat improved. Okay, so we don't actually know if Starfield's going to have melee weapons, but if it does, I'm kind of bored of swinging and blocking. I'd like to see Bethesda improve on it somehow, some way. I have no idea how, I'm not a game developer. As long as they don't overcomplicate it, I'd love to see it improved or changed. Next, I really want to talk about the lore. Both Elder Scrolls and Fallout have really amazing in-depth lore for their respective universes. Personally, I think that Fallout's lore is better, but hey, that's just me. Well, what I'm saying is I want Starfield to have really good lore. And there's a good chance it will, but this is our first game in what's most likely to become an ongoing series. So Bethesda have a lot of ground to cover for the lore of Starfield's universe, and I'm just hoping it's interesting. And next, I really want to see interesting companions. In my opinion, Fallout 4 has the best companions of any Fallout game, or any Bethesda game for that matter, simply because they actually had personalities. They had likes and dislikes, some even had personal quests. I really want to see Bethesda continue down this road with their companions for all of their future titles, but especially for Starfield. And the new companion system we got in Fallout 4 was met by a lot of praise by fans, so it's extremely likely that they will continue down this path, but that's not to say it doesn't need to be improved. I think one of the main issues with Fallout 4's companions was there wasn't really any bad or even evil ones. It felt like almost every companion hated me for being rude or mean or disliked it because I stole something. So if Bethesda go back down this road with their companions, and I definitely think that they should, I hope that they really branch out and give us a wide variety of companions to choose from. And if we are building a crew like I mentioned earlier in the video, don't let it be the same 5 or 6 companions like the Outer Worlds. Give me like 10 to 15 companions to choose from. And next, of course, we have manual spaceflight. I mean, come on, I wasn't going to make a Starfield Ultimate Wishlist without mentioning this. Now, as you guys know, I'm personally not that bothered by this. If they had a system like the Outer Worlds, or Jedi Fallen Order even, I seriously wouldn't mind. And I know I'll get a lot of hate for that, but I don't play Bethesda games to fly around. I play them to explore, learn about the world, and take on adventures. Now, would I prefer manual spaceflight over just regular spaceflight, I guess? Of course I would. There's no question, and I really do want it in the game. However, I wouldn't mind it being quote automatic either. Imagine if you get to choose between manual spaceflight and autopilot. How awesome would it be flying from Neon to New Atlantis, drifting through space while you walk around your ship or customize your ship's interior with the building mode that we mentioned earlier? Imagine being in a settlement type of building mode while your ship is casually drifting in space. I mean, that just sounds fucking awesome to me, dude. Which brings us to our next item on the wish list. Homes. Now I hope that we can get a house in every planet or location, say a penthouse apartment in New Atlantis, that sounds pretty cool, right? Or a small shack or cabin in Aquila City, a house in Neon, etc. But another thing I hope for is that our ships are like our homes. Obviously we've spoken a lot about making bedrooms and customization on ships, but I really do want it to feel like my home. I want to have my ship float through space while I take a nap or chill in the living room watching the stars in the nebula go by through a window in my living room. One of the best things about Bethesda games is that you can literally live a life in them. A good example of this is the fact that I have a wood elf character in Skyrim where all I do is wake up, wash by the lake thanks to a mod, hunt, eat, sell furs and shit like that in the closest town and so on. I don't do any quests, I don't go exploring unless I come across something while hunting or fishing. Anyway, you guys get what I mean. I want to be able to do stuff like this in Starfield too. Now, I want to talk about Neon for a minute. This location is supposed to be a, quote, pleasure planet. Now, honestly, in my opinion, Bethesda is not good at making pleasure cities or planets or anything like that. Again, I want to mention Skyrim and Fallout 4. Now, Riften in Skyrim was supposed to be a pleasure city, but the only thing that came close to making it feel like a pleasure city was the very small amount of skooma we could find if we looked hard enough. In Fallout 4, Good Neighbor was supposed to be like this, a pleasure town slash city, and again it had the same issue. I want Neon to actually feel like a pleasure planet. I want NPCs to offer me drugs constantly. I want to see drunk NPCs get into fights and struggle to walk down the street because they're so wasted. Hell, you can even go one step further and do what Cyberpunk did, add things like prostitutes and brothels. I want it all, man. Constant drug dealing NPCs, drunk or high NPCs, an absolute shit ton of crime. You get the idea. Please, Bethesda, please make Neon actually feel like a pleasure city slash planet. And next I really want to talk about NPCs and how they work. Look, it's not a secret that Bethesda NPCs are basically brain-dead robots. Although it was massively improved with Fallout 4, I gotta give them that. With the new creation engine, I'd love to see this go a step further. Imagine you're walking through Neon and suddenly you see an NPC holding up a store or a bank or something like that. Bethesda, please do little things like this. They already let us find NPCs discussing random things or getting into fights with each other, but again, I really want to see it be taken further. Going back to character creation, I really want decent hairstyles. Now I know this is a very small thing that's literally not going to affect the game really, but I'm tired of constantly modding in new hairstyles. Sure, Skyrim and Fallout 4 had a bunch of hairstyles, but for both of them games it felt like only 4 or 5 of them I actually liked. Both my Skyrim and my Fallout 4 load orders have hair mods in them because of this. And lastly, I would love to see loading screens like the ones we have in Fallout 76. Simply, a photo mode in Starfield would be great, and then if we take a picture, we can select it to become a loading screen picture. I really love that in Fallout 76, in fact it's pretty much the only thing I like in Fallout 76, so I would really love to see it in Starfield. Now, this video is going to end up being like an hour long, and it's already my longest video on the channel, so unfortunately I can't mention absolutely everything I want to see in Starfield here. I really just wanted to talk one final time about my wish list and things I want to / expect to see before the showcase comes out, to see how much I get right. Knowing my luck, I won't get anything right, but anyway. That will do it for today's video. Comment below your wishlist and come back after the showcase too to see how much you get right. I'm really excited to hear all of your ideas. And if you did enjoy today's video, please support the channel by simply hitting like, it really does help me out more than you can imagine. And if you want to stay up to date on Starfield news, leaks and content and discussions, consider subscribing. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one.